There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With over 140 channels in your vehicle, your all-access trial includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.
Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to another lunchtime learning session here on CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. TGIF, we're here. We made it, guys. It's the end of the week, and we're heading into a beautiful summer weekend. Hope everybody's got some plans. Most of us across the country in Canada, anyhow, do have a long weekend. But we're still going to be broadcasting. We've got an exciting one on Monday as well, so make sure you tune back, and I'll talk to you about that towards the end of the show. On today's session, we're going to shift gears a little bit. I know we've been spending a lot of time in the car audio world, and it's, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not saying winter's coming yet, but we got to start thinking about car starters and alarms because the season is around the corner. So, in Canada, if you're a shop, you know as much as I do how important this is. So updates and the latest applications are all stuff that you need to be in tune with to make sure that you can offer the right products and services to your customers, which is specifically why I hunted down two individuals today that are really going to help us out, stay in the loop of what's going on when it comes to directed. Now, directed, DI, as you know, a mainstay, of course, here in Canada when it comes to the category, has gone through some significant changes that we've addressed in the past with the acquisition through Vox Electronics, and they are here, they are present, and today we're going to find out all about the latest stuff that's going on with that camp. And we've got two technicians with us today that are really going to be able to shed some light on the matter. So if you guys got some questions, make sure to be a part of the conversation, make sure you make some comments, and we'll do our very best to get any questions you have answered. All right, without further ado, I got two gentlemen to bring onto the show with us today. Both are, I guess, the left and right hemisphere of the DI, tech support brain, and I'm really happy to have them both on today. First off, we've got Mr. Brian Nelson joining us from Team Directed. Brian, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Good, and we also have Chris Labardi joining us as well. Chris, welcome to the show as well.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for having us.
I realized it when I was saying it. It's like, oh my God, I'm talking about summer, and here we are talking about the fall. It's a double-edged blade, right? Because we all want summer to continue, but our businesses all want the fall to come. For obvious reasons. It's a big season for us up here in Canada, as you are well aware, especially in the remote starter and security segment. Before we get into that, I did touch on it. There's been a lot of change at the directed camp, in the last, year and a half now. I was wondering if I'd give you, maybe, Brian, the opportunity to speak that out a little bit. Any updates? How are things going with, the entire Vox thing? Because Vox is obviously a great customer of ours, a member of CMA, and it covers a lot of categories. But more specifically, like to hear about, directed in Vox now as one.
Absolutely. The transition was a lot smoother than I thought it would go. It was kind of an unknown what was going to happen, and they picked us up, and it was just great. Everybody's been awesome. We consolidated some teams that really helped, and all the guys from the Vox side have really helped us keep going and keep moving. I love so far how they've treated us, and it doesn't feel like we're a different part of the company. It feels like we're just all.
You don't feel like that weird adopted sibling in the house.
Not really. It's been a great transition. It's been
Good
a great
for you.
Transition.
Really, really nice. Okay. Chris, let me ask you, from a tech support standpoint, has anything changed to note, or anything that we need to let dealers know about?
In regards to the acquisition and just or in general?
Yeah, in regards to the acquisition, has any, structurally, has anything that needs to be addressed?
No, honestly, we've the biggest changes honestly have come with COVID and the PSRs as far as training and getting them out on the road. We've obviously been hindered like everyone else in the industry. We'd love to have our guys out there training more than they are, but outside of that, no. Vox has done a great job of really letting us continue doing what we've always done very well. And even given us a lot of tools and resources to help build on some of the things that weren't possible before. So it's been great, honestly.
Really nice to hear. And, I had a feeling about it too. When we touched base we had an opportunity to connect with a couple of the Vox guys. Joe Dentomaro came on and spoke to the acquisition a while back, and we were very hopeful this was going to be a really smooth and really beneficial, I think, on many levels. And you know what? Forgive me, I should have taken a second to talk. Brian, please take a second to talk about your role within Directed so our viewers know who you are, and I'm going to ask the same to Chris.
Sure. I started out at Directed probably 7 years ago. I moved from Minnesota down to the Vista office. Spent, great time there with all those guys. Being in the office was really cool. Over the years, people started moving. We started having like remote positions, and it got to be where at first everybody was in the Vista office or the Montreal office. And after a while, it just started being like, all right, we got to hire another guy. He's from, let's say, Chicago. So then he's now working remote in Chicago. And then somebody from our company would, leave from the Vista office, like, I got to get another one. And it's hard to get the remote start background in California. So it's like, all right, we got to hire another guy.
I would say that would be challenging.
See what we get.
That would be challenging. Yeah.
It is. It's very challenging.
Yeah.
Sure. So it just kept moving out, and then it came to a point where I was the last one in tech in Vista, and it was like, Southern California is great, but I'm from the Midwest, so it was like it's time to move back home to Wisconsin. So that's where I am now.
Oh, so you're back in Wisconsin? Awesome.
I'm the tech support manager here. Yeah. It was funny when you're talking about winter is coming. It was a little different coming back to it, but I did miss the season. So it's great being back in the winter, and supporting my team from here because everybody was already remote. So,
all right. And what's your story, Mr. Labardi?
Yeah, I was at Best Buy for many, many, many years. Did a lot of work with supporting, multiple locations, and then did some work supporting, Best Buy corporate. And then to Brian's point, I was never ready to pull the trigger to move to Vista. I always wanted to work for Directed. I've always loved Directed, but relocating just wasn't in the cards for me. And then once we got to the point where the majority of our team was remote, it was the perfect time and transition. So I've been with Directed now for just over 2 years. Came in just on normal tech support. I was the guy on the phones taking the calls with the rest of my team. And then with the Vox transition, I moved into the supervisor role of the team. So I get a really great team that works with us. So I love it.
I see you surround yourselves with the products. I see you looking and staring. I'm staring at that must be a fortress of T-harnesses behind you. We're going to get into that in a second. Awesome, guys. Listen, I think I have the right people for the questions and the topics that I want to cover today. So thank you for making the time, of course. Chris, let's stay with you. Our viewers are dealers, and obviously if I'm going to have the tech guys on from Directed, I'm going to go straight for the jugular right away. What can you share with us as far as maybe some new applications or some latest news? What can you share with us?
Yeah, so the latest news, we do a really good job of trying to communicate it out to our dealers through a bunch of different channels, whether it's social media, whatever. But one of the main things that we try to do is on our main direct text page, we do have a latest news banner that goes down the side there. And it really does a good job, if we can, of calling out what new vehicles we're currently supporting, whether it's a new release firmware, whether it's a new model year that we've been able to support. Right now, some of the key ones that we've just released, the new QX55, the Infinity, the new Jeep Wrangler 4xe. And these, of course, are all 20, 21, 22 vehicles. Honda Odyssey, the Ford Edge, Nissan Sentra, Bronco Sport. And these are all, like we were saying, 21, 22 vehicles. And we've done a really good job of getting to those as they've been released. They're obviously new model vehicles, and we already have T-harness support on 4 out of the 6 we just mentioned. So we're making a lot of good moves there.
I always found that very impressive, how you guys could take a vehicle that literally just came off the lot, was not even available, more than 3 months ago, and already have the application in place. I mean, the engineering, the R&D behind that is tremendous. One day we might like to take a closer look at that, if you'll let us. I'm sure there's some secrets in place, but let's speak to that a little bit. How important is that to stay on top? And I obviously it's important, but to what level? How serious do you guys take that?
Yeah, I'll say a little bit, and hopefully Brian will tag on. So the coverage, obviously, we are both from the Bay, right? Neither of us came from the corporate side of the business. We came up in the industry like everyone else, turning wrenches and doing installs under a dash. So it's obviously very close to home for us. We know what it's like when we have customers coming into the shop and saying, "Hey, when I have this brand new vehicle, when can I get a remote start?" And we know that no one wants to be in a position where we don't know if anything's coming, or we it's something like, "Hey, check back 6 months later." 6 months later, I've been in those positions, and we do our best. The engineering and validation team up in our Montreal, the Sheen office is awesome. They do great work, and happy to work for this company because they do such a good job in that regard.
I'm going to comment to that. I'm from Montreal. I've been to the last 3 locations of the directed offices in the last 22 plus years. Very proud to say that the R&D is out of there. And as a Canadian, this is a Canadian broadcast, guys, the research that are going into these products happening right here. We're employing people that are here doing the work to get the results that Chris is referring to. So I'm very happy to hear that continues. I wasn't sure with Vox how that would work, but that's another great point, how the transition has been really, really seamless and nice. You spoke to new applications. What about T-harnesses? Because that's kind of important too.
Yeah, so the T-harness applications, as you were mentioning, we have a lot of them, right? That's been a major foundational piece of the success of the company and the DS4 platform, and specifically, it's one of those things where we are getting to the point now where we don't want to have to release a firmware that doesn't have a T-harness. It's that cohesive that if we are doing it because we want there to be a solution, right? We don't want to hold up a solution. For instance, right now, one of the ones that I mentioned was the 21 Nissan Sentra push-to-start. We don't have a smart or a T-harness for that yet, but we want it out there, right? It's kind of an industry first, so we wanted everybody to have access to that firmware. But obviously, the T-harness will follow up as quickly as we can. And then we have a lot of stuff in the pipeline of new development T-harness. Brian, do you have the latest news up in front of you? Can you chime on to one of the couple of the T-harnesses that are on there? I think we have a couple.
Yeah. Who doesn't love a good T-harness? I was not a big T-harness fan when they first came out. Sorry, I'm going to segue while Brian's looking at this.
Yeah.
You mentioned we coming from the Bay. I, too, came up from the Bay, but old school. I'm sure I'm older than you. So we're talking like back in the beginning of remote starter business. There was only 2 models on the market, okay? And one was an automatic and the other was a manual. And everything was tap and solder, you have to figure out it was a lot of work. And honestly, I look back at what we charged for it. I can't believe we were charging what we charged for it because, man, it was a lot of work. And it took a lot of time to figure out. T-harnesses, bro, like, there's so many advantages to it, and I was hating on it at first because I was like, this is not, you don't need an installer to put this in. You're insulting me. But now, retrospect, God, it's the best thing that ever happened since sliced bread. When
they first came out, there was a lot of pushback on.
I was there
making them, and I mean when I was in the Bay, I started in the Bay like 15 years ago. People would come in for remote start and be like, "Oh, is there a T-harness for this car?" And they get laughed out of the place because they didn't exist. They really didn't. And then when we started making them, we got pushback. It's like, "Oh, it's an extra $30 or $50 or whatever." But a lot of bays, I used to say this story when I used to go train about T-harnesses. When radios first came out, there weren't harnesses at all. Every car was hardwired. And then people were slow getting them. They're like, all right, now cool, yeah. Now it's every car is a T-harness. And then there's shops that turn away cars that don't have T-harnesses. And I'm like, mark my words, a few years from now, people will not be doing cars that don't have a T-harness for a remote start. And we do get some calls. Like, yeah, I had this car yesterday, didn't have a T-harness, so I didn't do it. Which, blows my mind. I'm sure like it blows yours. It's like, it's still hardwired. It's, we have the solution. It's there. But it really does help the new installers get more familiar with just getting in the car and slapping in. You get that that first press that remote start button and the car fires up, and you're like, oh yeah, and then you start liking the industry more because you get to see what you put into it. You're like, I did that. I made this car start with a button, and it gets them more familiarized with the whole like DS4 ecosystem, stuff like that. So it's amazing how far they've come and how many we have. I mean, look behind Chris there. We have 25 maybe T-harnesses.
That's not all of them. I have a whole other box of them that aren't.
Yeah. And look, Brian, we could talk about this for a long time because you're right. You own a shop, you have 3 techs. You got a senior tech, but now you can have these junior techs. These are great opportunities to get them familiarized with everything from the panel popping to locating stuff to, what I mean? It gives them confidence. Confidence is the other part we don't talk about very often because I remember putting everything in. It took me forever, right? Hands are bleeding and burned from solder spurting and everything. I go and it's not working.
Yeah.
So now you need another guy to, check with you contacts. The relay and this work. Now it's a 2-man operation.
Yeah.
T-harness solves so much of that.
And really, just to elaborate on that, it's funny because obviously the T-harness we talk about, and that's the first thing that comes to mind, supporting the newer, veteran installers and so forth. But to be honest, the way that it even can support you from a productivity standpoint, like how fast you can get these installs done. My vehicle, I have a Subaru WRX, right? And it's a manual transmission. And if you look at the install for that vehicle, someone's going to look this up and tell me I'm wrong, but it's probably a 30-ish wire install, right? It's in high current clutch integration.
It's gross.
It's a big install. I mean, even for a veteran 15 years, it's like, that's going to take me 2.5 hours to do that car well. Right. And one of the latest Subaru harnesses that, not new at this point, but it's one of the ones that we're, pretty proud of the development of it. It's amazing. I think if you use that T-harness, you may need 1 or 2 connections, manual wire connections.
I think it's 3.
Yeah. Plug and play. There you go. See, you know better than I do. Yeah. Plug and play, 2 different ignition harnesses because it covers its key vehicle starting back at 2010 and it goes all the way up to 2020 Subaru key vehicles. And it's all the, WRX, Imprezas, Crosstreks, all of them. Right. So, and it's awesome because we can stick all that in one box. It is a bigger box, but it covers so many vehicles and it, keeps your stock counts low, and it takes a 2.5 hour install. And I can comfortably say I could do that in probably a 30-minute install, from start to finish.
And that's one thing I bring up when I do the trainings is like, I was in the Bay for 8 years in Minnesota. Like we can crank them out, but the old style stuff is you had an analog brain and a bypass and you got to do your pre-wire, and then all your stuff that goes to the car. Like you said, those installs take, 2, 3, 4 hours. Some of the Subarus where you had to use like 2 bypass modules, those take time. And I tell some of these shop owners, I'm like, I'm fast and clean, but you put a new guy with a T-harness next to me and he will crush me in time on the remote starter. It's
hands down,
he will crush me. Not
even the time in the Bay, reading instruction, taking a look at where everything is. We didn't count for that yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The funny part is that 30 minutes that I was talking about, one of the things that we used to do, and it's kind of a running joke in my shop, is we'd have someone go to the vehicle and say, hey, here's the T-harness. And they'd go in there and they'd start like plugging the T-harness in. And I couldn't even get to the bench.
That's what I'm trying to say. The pre.
I like run over there and they'd be like, plug, and it's done. Like they can do the in-car faster than I can do the bench and the prep work. It's crazy.
We used to all sit down at the bench and prep everything, and that would go an hour.
Yeah.
And you haven't even gotten in the single panel yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and the profitability, right? You look, you got to do the analysis between the cost of the part versus time. And I think it's going to win every single time if you look at the bigger picture. And then,
there's just to Brian's point of what actual selection and availability for T-harness, it's really grown over the years. We have a slide in one of our training presentations that's kind of mind blowing. And this is old data. It's updated since then, but when we made the slide, we have coverage for 516 makes and models, like not even years. If you factor in different years within those makes and models, it's like 2,800 vehicles that we have coverage for T-harnesses. It's insane.
Yeah, crazy. Considering how long have T-harnesses been on the market? 15, 10, 12? I don't know.
Maybe 10.
Maybe 10. Before that, there was none. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time, right? Sorry, Brian, did you get a chance to share that screen and we can take a look? The last point I'm going to make, and we can move on from this because this is a hot topic, but accountability after the install. Every shop has always had that customer come back to them and say, "Oh, I went to my dealer and said the problem with my car is because we put in a car start." That T-harness comes in handy for those scenarios.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody listening knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a battle with the dealership that the tire could fall off and they're going to blame the remote.
Yeah, well, it's because you put a car starter in, right? Take out the T-harness, plug it back, and now bring it back and see if that problem is still there, would you?
Yeah. There
you go. All right, here you go.
This is just straight directtext.com. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this. The straight application guide. You can just click here and you pick the product. DS4, DS4 Plus, all that stuff should be the same. But it's a massive list, absolutely massive list of what we cover. We're halfway through it there. But if you want to go to the latest news stuff, you click right here. This will go over, like Chris was talking about, the new firmwares, and we'll say when we launch a new T-harness, they'll actually just say, like this one here, the 21 plus F-150. It'll say, well, it usually says that the T-harness is here. Not sure why it doesn't say that there. I may have jumped the gun there.
No, that's okay. While you're there, I wanted to just finish Chris's conversation about a couple of the latest T-harnesses that we want to just mention.
Sure.
Yeah, so as far as the latest development or the latest releases, Brian, do you remember off the top of your head which was the newest one? So the reason why I'm kind of hesitant right here is I have a little bit of a sneak peek for what harnesses we have in the pipeline that we're going to be ready to release, but we'll revisit that down the road.
Let's save that for the end. Let's save that.
I don't want to spill any of those right now.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last one was a Hyundai T-harness. Took care of a lot of cars, and the best part about it just takes out all the guesswork. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. So we're talking about. So we covered a couple of the new firmware updates. Covered the importance of T-harnesses, which I think is a very important conversation because I have a feeling there's still some shops that aren't totally bought in them because of the price. I hope we've given them a little bit of insight into making that decision going into this fall. Anyhow, let's talk about support. What is this? I think existing directed dealers are very familiar with the support. Goal of this show is to maybe make aware what's available from those dealers that maybe aren't on board with your brand right now, and let them know what it is they're missing.
Yeah, so we've got a absolutely fantastic team of guys. I think there's 12 of us total, including me and Chris. They're guys from the field, from the industry that have been in it for years. We go through a pretty strenuous interview process when we do hire these guys, because you can have a guy that says, "Yeah, I've been working in a bay for 10 years. I do this and that," but unless you test them, which we do, you don't really know what kind of chops they got. Like our interviews will be hours. My interview was an entire day when I went to Vista.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got a great group of guys. So the first, one of the most effective ways is just giving us a call. Our phone numbers all over our products to call us for support.
So when I call, is it a human being?
It is.
That I actually get to speak with?
Yeah.
Who lives in North America?
North America. We have our guys in Canada too. We have Spanish. We have French.
Amazing.
It's great. And those are even the guys that are harder to find. It's like, we need somebody bilingual,
I'm going to take a minute just to give props to my boy, Jean.
Oh, yeah.
So Jean in Montreal is like, man, I don't even know how. There's nobody like him in the industry, in Canada anyhow. He's been the voice on the other end of the line. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. For so many installers, for so many years. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Jean. There you go. Shout out. Sorry.
We had a while ago, we'd hear people like, I don't want to call directed. Those guys are mean, or they treat me bad, or stuff like that. We used to have a lot of older guys that kind of got burnt out on having to walk people through stuff. Because, you know, when you take a phone call, you take 30, 40 phone calls a day, and I don't have a meter, or, you know, the car isn't even a part, or the car's not there. Every single one of those phone calls will take you down just a peg. And some of those guys had zero patience for it. The entire team, except for Jean back then, is gone now. So we have a complete group of new, fresh guys that are eager, knowledgeable. You know, they're not the analog is king forever. You know, these guys know their digital stuff because they've worked through it. You know, they've been in the base for that long.
Jean just texted me, thanks, bro.
What's up, Johnny B? So the old ornery guys are gone. The fresh blood's in, and call us if you don't call me for a problem. I don't have a job, and neither does Chris, and neither does any of the guys on the team for tech support. We love when you call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than calling us, we do have live chat on our website.
Okay.
It's a fantastic tool. Use it for quick stuff. If you come in on chats and saying you got a 08 Bentley and you want to do a remote start, and how do I do it? We're going to tell you to call in. If it's, hey, does this remote fit this, or, you know, quick stuff like that, that is the perfect stuff for chats. Everybody that's on the phones, which is, you know, there's 10 of us on the phones. All those people are waiting for chats while on phones too. So like they're available. It's always there. You can get it from directtext.com. You can do it from DirectLink app on your phone. If you want to have the app in the car while you're doing it, it's available. Other than that, that's basically like our live support. Like if you want to get a person right there, that's it. You know, it's our team. Monday through Friday. We're going to be opening up Saturdays in a couple of weeks again.
What is that for the season, basically?
For the season, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And but for our not live stuff, we have an absolute mesmerizing amount of resources to use. You know, people say RTFM, read the free manual.
Is it free?
Read the free
one. I thought it wasn't. Anyway.
Was it something else? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Or Code 18.
The manual has 99% of all the information you're going to need. Sometimes you got to go back into DirectWire and maybe look at something, but all the stuff is typically there. Our Facebook page is an absolutely insane resource of knowledge across the board. I think we have 6,000 members, and they're all techs. If you try to come,
I'm sorry, just to clarify, do you say page or group?
Our group, sorry.
Group, okay.
Our group, our Snake Pit directed technical support group. It's over 6,000 people. They're all techs. When you come into the page, we make people answer questions like what shop do you work at, or what's your login, stuff like that. We get dozens of requests from people just saying, you know, they answer the questions with, I have this car and I have this problem. It's like, sorry, bud, you're not getting in. That's not what this page is for. This page is for professional, you know, techs. It's twofold. How good it is everybody wants to help. Some people will be there and they'll maybe, you know, not be happy people have egos in this place and they think they're right, and a lot of times these people are wrong, and we have kicked people out of our thing, but most of the people that are there just want to help people just like we do. And you'll have somebody post, hey, I got this 13 Lexus, whatever, where's the factory remote starter? And they'll just be, you know, everybody will help. It might be the shop that's 20 minutes down the street, or it's a guy from the UK saying, yeah, this thing is here. The other side of that is the search feature on the page. I mean, that page has been open for quite a few years now in the group, and it's just a plethora of knowledge that's there. So if you're on that page, somebody's probably worked on the car that you have, and somebody's probably ran into the problem that you have, and the answers are there.
I have found them. I've exhausted resources internally sometimes and searched that page, and I found a page or something from 2017. I'm like, oh, yep, that's the answer I was looking for. You know,
and you guys are on there, like the directed team is on there.
Yeah, our whole team is on there. Yep, absolutely. And it's funny because, to Brian's point, like everyone wants to help. It started out as, you know, dealers could come on and ask questions to us, and our team would be there to help, but half the time, like, we can't even get to the questions fast enough, because by the time we see it, there's 20 other answers there before it. And it's awesome because honestly, it's it kind of levies the there's a lot of time zones and so forth. So I mean, it's basically 24-hour support. You could be in the bay at 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning, because you're doing an overnight and you get stuck on something, and you can ask the question and you'll get 50 answers before we open in the morning. It's great.
Yeah, very cool. Now, I know you guys have a YouTube page. I know we want to talk a little bit about.
Absolutely. Should I share my screen?
Absolutely. Let's take a look. There we go.
So it's basically youtube.com. I think it's just going to be, if you find it's the user part's not going to be here, it's just going to say Snake Pit Training. There's videos that go back so far where it's like ready remote installs, like what would have been on the VHS tape that you got. From
if I see a snake running on the street to circle around a vehicle, I'll be impressed. An animated snake, of course. Sorry, I should be more specific.
There's the kind of stuff that's in here. Like here's like, if let's say you had no knowledge of DS4, there's a whole string of videos here about it. What's in the box when you do get a DS4. There are playlists on here for actual learning. Like if you got a new tech, this detailed training here will go over complete flashing of modules. It goes over finding everything on the website. It's fantastic. A lot of things that people don't know that's on here is these remote playlists, or just the remote videos in general, like how to set the clock on this remote, or change the paging modes. Like all this stuff is here, and this isn't like hidden or anything. So if you guys in a shop like have a customer that emails you and like, oh, I live an hour away, I don't know how to repair my remote or something like that, tell them about this page or just email them the link.
Yeah, because this is public information. This is not like a gated
public live,
right.
Correct.
Okay. So question for you.
Yeah.
I happen to be on the cusp of installing a DS4 platform into one of my vehicles. I know nothing of the sort. I haven't installed anything in 20 years. Would you say, I'm going to take your word for this, that without having to call you guys, if I pay attention to this Snake Pit YouTube page, I should be able to learn everything I need to know to get my install done?
Absolutely. This
this
playlist here. So Adam Nelson did these videos, and when you click on him here, silly ads.
Yeah.
It will if you go down here and you don't want the general overview,
it's chaptered.
I set all these up, so this is all a hardware overview. It'll tell you everything about it. And then if you want to go to part 2, there's this video is a little long, but this one will get you most of the information for flashing and all the different settings. And yeah, if you can't install it from this and the install guide, we're there to help, absolutely. But I think with your background, you should be able to crank this thing out, no problem.
All right, we will see. It's pending any day now. Before we get off this topic of support and the different systems you have in place, why don't you share with us some of the, for fun, one of the top 3 questions you get asked in a year?
Top 3 questions
off the cuff. We didn't rehearse this. I want to know just like that.
Support?
I'm asking. The ones you got to chuckle at. You're like, oh God, not this again.
It might be like, what wire do I ground on a Smart Start to make it work?
What wire do I ground on a Smart Start?
Yeah, because depending on what system you're putting it on, it changes the language of whatever brain it talks to. And it's funny because I'm just going to pull up any guide here. 18 Chrysler 300. So whatever, I'm just going to pick the guide. It's here somewhere. So if you're, this is the full guide, and it goes, it's one guide per car. It's not a bunch of groups of cars, which is nice. I know we got a lot of complaints from people like, wow, you'll have a guy doing install and he's reading type 4 when he should be installing type 3, and then he messes that all up. So Scrolling through, here's the install guide of the T-harness. Here's the different Rev T-harness. This is a hardwire. And you just scroll down. It's in every single guide. The pigtails are the current one. The ones with the loops are really old. They don't even work anymore. But it tells you which one to ground and which one not to.
So this classifies as the RTFM category.
Yes.
Gotcha.
With pigtails, ground the gray wire.
There you go. Boom.
That
Okay.
We probably take that phone. Chris, how many times do you think we take that phone call a day?
Oh, I don't know. Probably 10.
All right, Chris, how about you? What would you say is definitely a top 3 call that comes in?
I hate to say it because I'm of the mindset, no questions is a bad question if you don't know the answer, right? I think the most common ones that just stick out to me are the calls. They say, "Hey, real quick, the customer isn't here yet, but we installed the remote start a month ago, and they called and they said it doesn't work. Do you have any ideas?" And then they're just
generic like that.
And it sounds like it's not doing what it needs to do. Give us a call when it gets there, right? And they're like, "Yeah, we figured you wouldn't be able to tell us much, but we just wanted to kind of get ahead of it." Those are the ones that we get very frequently. And
basically it's a call that got nothing accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. You just sat on hold for us to tell you to call back.
To call back when you actually have the unit in front of you, so we can actually run some tests. Okay.
Yeah, well, we can troubleshoot with you, and
right.
Sometimes people don't like that answer, but it's one of those things where if we can't have you, give us the module ID of the unit to see what firmware is even on it, right? You could be on an older firmware. It could be something as simple as the hood's not shut on the car. They're driving around with their hood half open. It's literally just throwing darts at the board. And those conversations, all they can ever do is we can throw 50 scenarios at you, the possibilities of why it could not be working, and then they show up and it's 51, the one we didn't say. There's really no value there to be honest. But those are the ones that kind of make me chuckle.
I
want one more, Brian. Give me one more. We're having a good time.
Yeah, the car not being there, that does happen quite often. Probably when we try to have people test stuff, either the car's there, which is good, but the car either not being a part or they don't have a meter, which is insane. You can't see electricity. You don't know what it's doing. So you need a meter to know that.
Well, hold on. Time out. You're getting calls from installers that don't have meters?
Lots.
So we actually had one yesterday that was really funny. So one of our guys was helping, and he's like, I just really need to know how this wire tests. I'm gonna need you to go grab a meter.
And to be clear, we're talking about a voltmeter, folks.
A DMM doesn't have one to hand. The whole install's
standard radio. Okay, not Radio Shack.
So
I'm saying Radio Shack, but
he kind of stands up and he kind of huffs and puffs a little bit that he has to go find a meter. And we can hear in the background, right? And one of the other guys in the shop is like, "Hey, what are you looking for?" And he goes, "Oh, I got to find a meter." And the second guy goes, "For what?" So that tells you how often they're using this thing, right? So you're just kind of like shaking your head a little bit. It makes you laugh, honestly.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a thing.
You have Harbor Freight up there in Canada?
No. What is that?
It's like they make a lot of discount tools. It's a lot of
right. It's like a discount economy yellow brand kind of
They have meters for $5, $10. You get a coupon, you get a meter for free when you
got Canadian Tire up here.
Okay.
I think I have 3 different meters from Canadian Tire because they go on sale real cheap, and it's always nice to just have a meter around, right? But wow.
Yeah, we made the joke a while back. If we keep getting these calls, we're going to stop giving out T-shirts and start giving out meters instead.
Meters. At the price of them, maybe it might be about the same price at this point.
It might be.
It might be cheaper.
It'd be close, honestly. If we
meters aren't. We're talking a basic volt.
Basic.
Yeah.
Volts and ohms.
Okay, that was fun, guys. That was pretty interesting. Okay, so we talked about the support. We talked about a couple of first of all, we talked about the transition with Vox. We talked about some new applications, firmware. We talked about the support systems you have in place, and we had some fun talking about some interesting tech calls. Let's talk about the season coming up. What's coming down the pipe, Chris? Is there anything you can share with us as far as applications so guys can kind of get minded for this there?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really cool because obviously whenever we have firmware that's not released yet, it's not public. We keep it pretty close, like as most.
You did get clearance from engineering on what you're about to say, right?
Yes. We
Okay.
made sure that everyone was on board, and nothing here is something that we're going to get in trouble for talking about. So I'll just drain down the list because I'm sure everyone's interested. So in the works to be released as far as vehicle coverage, we have the 22 Pathfinder smart key, the 22 Civic smart key, 22 Odyssey smart key, 22 Tucson regular key. That's a Canada version vehicle. The Kona push to start, the QX55 push to start. These are 22s, both of them. The Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross push to start 22, and then the 21 Avalon. So these are all firmware, and these aren't down the road. These are in the pipeline to be released very shortly, preseason. So
very, very cool. You got some major ones up there, especially for here. I know the Hyundais are big.
People have been asking for sure. And then just kind of transitioning over the T harnesses. We actually have had 4 T harnesses in the works for a while now, and they're right on the cusp of being released. So part numbers, real quick, just the last 3: the YN4, the YN5, YN6, YN7. These are all going to be Hyundai Kia harnesses. So I'm going to go down this list super fast, but it's the Elantra, the Sonata, the Ford A5, the Elantra push to start, the Elantra GT push to start, Santa Fe push to start, Veloster push to start, Optima push to start, Sorrento push to start, the Accent push to start, Elantra GT 28 to 20, so the older version push to start, the Rio push to start, again back 2018 to 20, and then some of the newer ones, the Ioniq, the Kona push to start, Tucson push to start, Nero Sportage. So that's
like the entire line.
Four harnesses there covering like 20-something vehicles. So yeah, that's how we stay on top of it and make sure we have coverage. And I mean, you see that we're covering basically in those harnesses that I just listed. The oldest one goes back to quick scan 2011. And now up to, of course, new model 2021s, whatever.
Very cool stuff. And when you say soon, what do you figure roughly?
These are. I don't want to give a date because I don't have one, but preseason.
Okay.
I think
before snow falls.
The Hyundai one was coming out.
There you go. Before snow falls. Let's just go with that. That's pretty good.
Exactly.
Pretty wide of a...
Well, hold on. Before snow falls, not in like northern Canada, because I think that's happening.
Okay, fine. Not along the border.
Yeah, there you go.
How's that? There you go. Fair enough. Yeah, because some places are about to snow like in 3 weeks.
Right.
Don't say that.
I won't say that. I had problem just saying in the top of this show that we're talking about car starters already, but are we August yet? No, we're not quite August yet. Are we?
Almost.
No, we're almost August.
Yeah.
Jeez. Flying by. Yeah. Is there any, I'm going to leave the floor to you, Brian. Brian first. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap this up?
I think we covered a lot of our bases there. I think we got a lot of good information out. We can talk about T harnesses all day if you're watching.
Yeah,
this
we could.
Don't use T harnesses.
Yeah, Brian, maybe this is a good chance, real quick. So one of the things that our team does is we do a very good job of kind of understanding some of the deeper fundamental things that people struggle with from the technical side, and we build tech tips, right? So
tech tips. Okay.
Yeah, these tech tips are everything, right? We have a tech tip that tells you what battery goes in what remote, all the way to how to do crazy, old, voltage based stuff with old push start GMs. We have all kinds of tech tips. But Brian, you want to jump into that a little bit and just kind of give a quick overview?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a list of what we released in the past year, and it's I think just this past year we've released like 25, 30 tech tips. So
I want to know if tech tip number 1 is make sure you have a voltmeter.
we do have a very elaborate how to use your meter, and it's getting redone at the moment. So
okay, there you go.
1045 using your digital multimeter.
Maybe just start with QR1 if you could, Brian. That's probably a good one. That
the QR1 I made. It looks like 2019. I honestly started making this for myself. There's only so much knowledge we can hold in our heads. But it's like, I got to look up that thing from that guide again. What was that? So QR1 was a quick reference guide that I started making this first portion here is just shutdown and startup diagnostics for remote starts through a bunch of different platforms. These are mainly, I mean, the analog stuff is a lot of US brand stuff, but you guys, get the point. DS4, 4x10, 5x06, 4x06 stuff. Every single person on our tech team has this printed off at their desk because it's just quick glance over, cool, 3 flashes. Everybody knows it's lower, no RPM. This is one of the best quick guides that I've seen. What to do for garage mode. If your alarm goes off, what is those 2 flashes on the antenna? It's here. These security zones.
Brian, how are these cataloged?
What do you mean?
Like, is this as per? Like, where did you find this? Sorry, I guess my question is, how do I find this, and how is?
So yeah, this one here. If you go to our DirectTech's website and under resources, there's this tab called Tech Tips.
So there is a tab just for tech tips. Okay, yeah.
Correct. The topic here, you don't have to put anything in here. Honestly, I've never done that because it's optional. You can just type in QR1 here, and it'll pop up.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool because obviously all of our tech tips are identified to us by tech bulletins, QR, tech docs, whatever. But the nice part about it is you can type pretty much anything you want in there. Like you can type in Ford door trigger and it'll tell you what tech tips, call out Ford door triggers. So
like yesterday,
you just search for what you're looking for and it's very intuitive.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the tech tip number for modifying LEDs on brains. So I just typed in LED. It was here, 1923.
I see.
And like we have so many here. The topic and the keyword is optional. If you're like bored and you just want to learn stuff, just hit begin search and it lists them all. And you can be like, oh, I want to know more about relays or using your digital meter.
My question for the quick reference guide is that by platform?
This is for the whole thing is very large, but this first page, you'll see these columns. Like this is the shutdown diagnostics for 4x03 and 4x05 brains. This one's for the upgraded 4x05, the 4x05.2. And then it goes on to different analog brains, and then these are the digital brains. Same with the startup diagnostics here. Further on down, these security zones is almost across the board for as long as we've had our stuff. The zone flashes haven't really changed. This one's really cool. People are like, why does it chirp again after I hit unlock? Or why does it chirp again 5 times with unlock? That tells you all of it here. A quick glance of Vin Code Decoding. What these remotes do on DS4 and 4x06, 5x06, 4x10. If you want to know, how do I check the temperature on this remote? It's all here.
Okay. What's the QR code for?
This takes us straight to our YouTube page right here.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So yeah, if you want to learn more about different stuff, takes you right to our page there. Another great one. So originally I built this for myself because I was like, I need something. Because I hate, finding a guide isn't that hard, but I just want to be like, snap, snap, snap. It's right there. So I put it together and I showed some guys on my team. They're like, that's rad. So I built it out further. And I'm like, let's just give it to everybody.
Let's just publish it.
Yeah.
And there you go.
And one of the cool things too, when you're like if you go to the search tab and you type in QR1, you'll notice when it pops up, you're going to have options. We started realizing that these things are such great tools. We need to have them also in French and in Spanish. So you got multilingual support.
Very cool. I was going to ask you that as well.
Yeah, and it's on our like top 5 or 6 different tech tips that are used. QR1 being one of them, QR2, which goes into remotes and so forth. But we're doing more and more of that now. So all those primarily speaking French text, we have these resources that we're working on for you. So
good. And this whole thing right there, this whole tech tip thing is a great resource that you can go on anytime and search keywords and all that stuff. So
I haven't counted how many we have, but I bet there's hundreds.
Yeah,
I mean, there's even stuff that goes back to like if you need a cutout template for an Orion subwoofer, it's still in the old days. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. That's true. I forgot. Yeah, directed at Orion.
You go back.
Might help.
Yeah, interesting. All right.
There's box building stuff still in there from when we had all the audio companies. Just search through it if you got time. And we're in the process now of still updating guides because we know like some of the tech tips were made it's great information, but they're made 15, 20 years ago, and they don't look as good as they could.
Right. Just needs a refresh.
Correct. So we've been starting to do some of those too.
Cool. All right, guys.
This is QR2. This is basically
the remote one you were talking about.
Yeah, with DS3 and DS4. It basically goes over what remotes work with what antennas, because people, they might not know. Like, they got a customer that comes in and they might be low on stock on something or out of stock, and they just happen to find a remote like laying in the corner. Like, we got to give them something. What does it work with? So you'll see these remotes here that work with these two antennas, and then it tells you what it doesn't work with. This we used to get this call a lot. People try to pair remotes to this. This is not an antenna. It's the LED valet pod. So, like, I've been trying this for an hour. It's like, sorry,
can't get it to work. I don't know what's going on.
There's I don't know how much more we can say. Like, that's not an antenna, but it's not. But the second page here goes over which remotes work for the entry-level antenna. And then the next couple pages is what batteries it uses. And it also tells you how to pair all these remotes.
That is critical.
Yeah, by brand, which is nice, because you can have one remote and it pairs 3 different ways, depending on the system that it's pairing to. So very
cool. Absolutely. Yeah, that should be printed off and laminated in every shop right there.
Yeah.
Those two.
Yeah, if you're not sure how to, do a 5325,
like, make it huge. I don't know, but it's there. So
it's there. It's all
guys, you're not gonna believe this, but like an hour has gone by already. Woo! It's too fast. I know. I know. Listen, can't thank you guys enough for being on the show today. I think we covered a lot of stuff, a lot of great information for dealers to either they're watching live or watch on demand. Sounds like there's some cool applications coming down the pipe, and steadfast. Continue doing what you guys are doing. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, all right, guys.
Sometimes we do like Facebook Live videos on our page. So
there you go.
Group,
Make sure you like the page.
Yeah,
get on that snake pit. If you're a tech, get on that snake pit.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Thanks for having us, Ben.
Chris, Brian, we'll be talking soon. We got a lot more sessions coming up, all about, obviously the season as it draws near. We're going to be intensifying our content coverage in this category, and obviously guys are a big player in that. So we'll talk to you guys soon.
Cool.
Thank you.
Take care. There you have it, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Had both Brian and Chris from Directed join us, and lots of great info, especially if you're a technician. God, those are the guys, and they have the tools. Whether it's their YouTube channel or their Facebook group or their tech tips on their website. As you can see with the demo we just did with those 2 sheets. Yeah, I think the information is there. You just got to go out and reach. And hey, shout out to the fact that they offer for Canada French as well, which is super important for our market as well. That's it. TGIF, guys. It's Friday. Thanks for tuning in to another session of CMA Connected presented by SiriusXM. We're back on Monday, where we have Pioneer Electronics joining us, along with a whole new week of content, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on Connected, and a new CMA Live. Actually, is it next week? No, that would be the week after. But anyhow, we'll talk about that when that comes. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we connect.